Doug, you okay? Well, are you ready? Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the first meeting in December for the City of Mount Vernon City Council. And we'll start out after the call to order here about to address the agenda. See if we can approve the agenda as presented. So move. Second. Craig and Scott. Approve the agenda. And all in favor of the motion to approve the agenda, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is communications. Is there anybody here to speak to anything that's not on the agenda? Bring open communications part. Otherwise, we'll go to then the administration vote. Things that were in the news. Focusing on Vernon. There's no one here to speak to the council about anything unscheduled. We'll do the administration of oath to David Frankfurt. So, get started. Anyone like this?
Yep, that'll work great.
Okay, just
You guys smile too, Chef.
Yeah. Go for a while here. All right. I state your name.
I, David Frankfurt,
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially, to the best of my ability,
and that I will faithfully and impartially, to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties of the office of police officer
discharge all the duties of the office of police officer
in the cities of Mount Vernon and Lisbon,
in the cities of Mount Vernon and Lisbon,
as now and hereafter required by law.
as now and hereafter required by law.
And this is witnessed the 16th day of December 2024 in the city of Mount Vernon, and I will sign this proclamation, and congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Give council a little context. David is a returned from the Marine Corps. He's the son of Officer Jeff Frankfurt from the department, and looking to get into law enforcement, and applied for our reserve force to go through and get his foot in the door that way, and kind of learn some things as he continues on to try to get into law enforcement full time at some point. So we're glad to have him, and looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your past service and for your future service.
That's no problem.
Leaving the communication section to the consent agenda, and questions from that? Are we ready to move forward with that?
Move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Approval of consent agenda is on the table. If we're ready to vote on that, all in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries. Moving to the resolutions for approval, 12/16/2024A, fiscal year transfers. Any further comments from staff?
No, like you said, these are some change debt service transfers, and then there's 3 projects that we started this fiscal year weren't accounted for when we budgeted.
8 different ones from one fund to another fund. Any questions or concerns about it?
Unless
Routine.
people have questions or concerns, I move approval of resolution 12-16-2024A.
Second.
Scott and Stephanie. Moved and seconded to move forward 12/16/2024A. That is a roll call vote.
Turler,
Yes.
West. Yes. Engel,
Yes.
Andreessen,
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
And that resolution passes. Next one is 12/16/2024B, terminating the moratorium. Well, we went through the last 3 weeks, I guess, last 3 meetings or so. But are we have questions of staff of what we're doing there? What's the next step in the process?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to bring this forward as we've gone through ordinances set that addresses everything, so I just want to have it cleaned up, and so this doesn't have to be gone over again, whatever the number of months, so we can just get rid of it now, not have to worry about it again.
So Chris, this is a motion to terminate?
So if you adopt the resolution will terminate the moratorium.
Okay.
So you can just approve the resolution and
I move to approve resolution 12-16-2024B.
Second, but I've got a question. I just want to, for clarification. So the moratorium put a halt on any new smoke shop applications, correct?
It did while you considered the two ordinances.
Right. So now, by terminating this, new smoke shops could apply, but based on the ordinances that we previously passed with zoning and the minors inside. Okay, all right, just making sure, okay. Second.
We got Paul, Scott for that resolution. Any other questions, concerns, comments? Otherwise, we will put it to a vote. Marcia?
Anderson,
Yes.
Turler,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Engel,
Yes.
West. Yes.
And that resolution passes as well. We're going to have a mayoral proclamation in the second meeting in January.
Yeah, the second meeting in January.
Yeah. And you've got background on that? Nothing from this meeting, obviously. Motions for approval. We had a list of claims that got sent out this afternoon by Marcia. Anything to pull off of that, or any questions to staff about that list?
No questions, I'll move to approve the claims list.
Second. Right. Moved and seconded to approve the claims list. And hearing no other comments or concerns, ready to vote on that, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. And opposed? The motion carries. Next item comes to us from the Arts Council, discussion and consideration of locating an archway sculpture at the entrance of the sculpture trail adjacent to 7th Street. And council action is needed, and we've got some representatives from the Arts Council here. So where do you want to begin? Sharp pictures here. Marcia, Bob, anybody?
You want us to stand and talk?
Yeah.
If you could just push the button until it turns green, on the bottom, on the base. There you go.
Hi, I'm Marie DeFries, and I'm here representing the Mount Vernon Area Arts Council and along with the Mount Vernon Sculpture Trail Committee.
Bob Campana, Chair of the Parks and Rec, and also on the Sculpture Trail Committee.
So what you have, I think you got pictures, right, or drawings, right? And we've consulted with everyone about this piece, Doug and Eldon and Matt, and I think we have it all squared around. We checked with, utilities, et cetera, the curb setback, and I think all is a go. And this particular sculpture is being underwritten by Les and Katrina Garman, so it's not requiring any funds from the city or actually from the Arts Council at this point. So that's pretty, we'll all like that, I think.
Who's the artist?
Dale Merrill, I'm sorry,
Okay.
I thought it was.
I didn't see it in here.
I didn't see it either.
Here, I'm sorry.
But
We've got it.
what we have is.
Oh, you got it,
Yeah.
yes, and that's
I didn't see
what
it.
Designed it.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's okay.
It's at the bottom of the page, L right down.
It's our very own Dale Merrill.
Okay.
LIW.
Down there, yeah.
The guy was
Yeah.
abbreviated.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Great.
Anything else?
One of the beauties of this particular design is it was proposed to us over a year ago and it wasn't chosen in the first round, but it had always remained as something that was appealing, and with having the underwriting from the Garners to make it happen, and also to have it modified for setback, for spacing so that equipment can go through since it's covering the trail. All the steps have been taken, and I thank the city staff too for checking out utility placements and setback for safety. And the placement on the south end of that section of the trail really gives us an entryway to make the trail distinctive. And then that will be opposite. Originally we thought about putting it on First Street, but it made more sense to have it down on the south end because of safety and attraction and so forth.
So this image that we're seeing is looking like Nature Park is to our back, looking up towards Main Street, basically.
Back and left.
Yep. Thank you.
There's going to be an area to the right of this sculpture called Prairie, if I remember correctly.
Eldon probably knows more about this than me, but the city staff has cleared out, there's a wooded area there that they cleared out, and the plan is to put a loop in the trail that goes through that wooded area, and Eldon can probably talk more about that. It's kind of, it's in the works, right? Yeah.
Sort of. Yep.
In the general long-range planning of things, we want to try to keep, by adding this loop, to try to have a contiguous area so that sculptures aren't just flowing outwards, but just to make this a really special destination between 1st and 7th streets in that location. And I think we don't have an exact count, but by adding the loop, that could add somewhere between, in the long run, 10 to 15 sculptures, depending on size and design. So looking ahead to make Mount Vernon a special artistic focal point with this section of the trail. And the arch is one of those great things that does that.
Obvious entryway, yeah. It's an obvious entryway.
Yes.
We're hoping that it'll be installed this spring. So Dale's going to work on it over the winter, and we're hoping by the end of May it'll be installed. So we're pretty excited because this sculpture trail has come a long way in just a short amount of time, and I think we're as surprised as anybody that it's gained momentum, and we've gotten support from private citizens and from the state and from the county. So
And the city.
And of course,
which is appreciated.
Well, you're certainly making our job easier with all the background and the research and the funding. So excellent job, you guys. I love the design.
I move approval of the request to locate proposed entrance feature to the sculpture trail at the 7th Street opening.
I'll second. Give this one Mark, since he was the
Okay.
last one. So, Paul, Mark. This is so Mount Vernon, kind of something like this. This is so Mount Vernon. You got the motion? Yeah, in one of our own, yeah. A motion on the floor to approve the archway sculpture, the entrance to the sculpture trail on 7th Street. And if there are no other comments or questions, we're ready to vote on it. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Just one last piece, though. Having Dale's sculpture coupled with ones that we are installing from David Riga gives us both a local economic and support for our local artists, as well as a national calling, because our other artists are Dubuque, Kansas City, and Colorado. And so Mount Vernon is a melting pot in that respect. So thank you for your support on that.
Thanks again.
You need a promotional piece with Caitlin Clark.
No.
Or Tristan.
All right. Well, thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks for a very active arts council in Mount Vernon. Third item for a motion is consideration of MK invoice for Brand Road, LA Park. Clearing up some past instances where they've assisted us most graciously.
Yeah, we've actually kind of had a run back and forth with MK. But Michelle and I had talked recently, and we said we should probably get this closed out, and then from here on out we can continue to move forward. But this has been ongoing since Durango, actually. So they've been assisting us. Great partners. But want to get these two closed out, and then move forward with a whole new list, I'm sure.
So this makes us even at this point.
So and admittedly, me and financial documents are a questionable relationship, but on this one, in the balance column, we've got both the 9085 that we're being asked to approve today, but then there's also 4495.
That's a running balance, it's my interpretation.
Yes.
So it's that, plus that equals that.
Oh,
Yeah.
there we are. Okay, I was
The
just
total's
adding down the
yeah.
balance and thinking that we were going to remain.
No logic to this accounting stuff.
Maybe that was my mistake, because I went a straight line and then, okay. All right, so as long as we're all agreed on the 9085, then, okay. In that case, I would move approval of the $9,085 payment to MEK Dust Control.
Okay, Scott, is there a second?
Second.
Mark. Moved and seconded to move forward with this MMK invoice for Bryant Road, Valley Park. Ready to vote on that? All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the V&K invoice on the Rachel Street extension. Council action as needed. Design fees,
$16,541.50. And our VK is actually doing all the preliminary design work right now for Rachel. Redevelopment agreement and urban renewal amendment will occur on the 6th. Should everything proceed at that point, then we'll continue to move forward with VK, so the numbers will get substantially higher once the approval is complete.
does this cover all their fees, or will it be more once we
It'll
get?
be more.
Okay, because I know we got some on the east side, but then a lot on the west.
Yeah.
That's why it's such preliminary.
Well, yeah.
This is the sharpening of their pencils.
With that, I move approval of payment of invoice number 51378-1 in the amount of $16,541.50 for preliminary design services for the Rachel Street extension project.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to move forward with this V&K invoice, engineering. If you're ready to vote on that, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Next one is West Street, Northwest Reconstruction.
This invoice is in the amount of $6,598.71. It includes both engineering and technician work on the ground.
Is this the last one?
I don't know that this will be the last one for 4th Street, just because I believe that we're going to have both the owner of the asphalt company and the asphalt organization here to review the surface to see where we're at with that.
And what could happen with that? Remind me, it could be.
Well, there's a number of things that could happen. Number one, in my conversations with Dave, I believe 20% was ideal. So when you look at the surface itself, there's places where the asphalt isn't quite as tight, where you see more aggregate than I would prefer to see. But I think the industry standard, from my understanding, is 20%. So 20% of that surface area could look like it does. They could essentially add a slurry to the existing areas that would potentially need it. If they do cores and the surface is compromised, they don't have to tear it out. Not a full tear out, but they would have to come back here and redo the surfacing.
And then cost-wise, would that increase our cost down?
And beyond that.
Okay.
This
yeah,
is a
that's what-
workmanship issue.
Okay, good deal.
Unless there are further questions or concerns, I would move approval of invoice 51359-3 for V&K in the amount of $6,598.71.
Second. Moved and seconded to move forward with that Northwest Reconstruction. It's a good deal unless you're a neighbor there and are inconvenienced for another project. But
Yeah, we're not inconvenienced.
Some of us.
I was going to say, yes,
Yeah.
regarding 20% of those sitting up here.
That's okay.
Motion on the floor, I think.
Yep.
If we're ready to vote on that, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. That going to be reviewed in the fall?
it could get reviewed, it could still get reviewed this year, they could still do a core, this year, but the work would not be completed.
We'll know what the scope is.
But
Next motion item is discussion consideration of invoice 51364 for the sanitary sewer rehab project with BK. $7,000 plus.
$7,089.14. This is the part of the ARPA funding from Lynn County.
Move approval of invoice 51364-4, the amount of $7,089.14.
Thank you, Paul. Is there a second?
Second.
Paul, Mark. Moved and seconded to move forward with this VK invoice. If we are ready to vote on that, all in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Next item is discussion consideration of setting a public hearing date on amendment to chapter 105 cemetery. Placement of monuments, etc.
You would just set a public hearing date for your next regular scheduled meeting, which would be January 6th. But if you look at our cemetery ordinance, the standard for foundations is really based upon the dimensions of our plots in the old cemetery. The new cemetery plots, I believe, are about 4 inches, or they're 10 by 4.
4 foot by 10 foot.
Yeah,
Yep.
so they're wider, and obviously we've had requests for larger monuments or stones. I can't necessarily grant that without changing this ordinance. I do foresee us changing this ordinance and then maybe looking with the cemetery commission at a comprehensive listing of kind of rules as it relates out there, but in the meantime, in order to accommodate some of the requests, we'll get the ordinance changed and then kind of move on from there.
So at this point, all we're doing is setting the public hearing, correct?
I would move to set public hearing date, chapter 115 cemetery,
Thank you, Craig.
for January 6th.
Second?
Craig, Stephanie. Moved and seconded to set public hearing date, January 6th, this amendment. And if we're ready to vote on that, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to pay application number 2 on the 2024 sanitary sewer rehab project. This is a big one.
In the amount of $204,364.32. Their percentage completion at this point, well, at the time of that pay application was 38%. So far, we've had very few issues. Somebody's notice flew off the door, so they didn't receive notice that they were going to do some testing and things like that. But really, those types of circumstances have been pretty minimal with this contractor.
Comments of staff, questions about the project?
I would move approval of the pay application number 2 for the 2024 sanitary sewer rehab project in the amount of $204,364.32.
Scott, a second.
Second.
Mark. Moved and seconded to move forward with the application number 2 on the 2024 sanitary sewer rehab project. If there are no other comments or questions, ready to vote on that, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries.
Quick question on that, we're just looking at the overall project. Was this the 1.2 total sanitary sewer project? Or,
So we received $1 million in
okay,
ARPA funding. This contract, I believe, was just over $700,000.
okay, all right. Thank you.
So we did the cleaning, which was a little over 2, so all in all, yeah, that was right.
Any other questions? Moving to reports, starts out with the police report.
You have one addition.
Got to paint the fire
J9.
truck.
J9 would be discussion and consideration of painting the new fire Department 2024 Chevy Silverado 2500. This was discussed as part of the purchase, but it did not come detailed, so that dollar amount is $8,304 comes out of their equipment funds.
But still needs council action, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Just over my limit.
I'd move approval per Chris's description.
Thank you, Paul. Is there a second?
Second?
Great. Move second to move forward with this fire department request. And if there are no other comments or questions, staff, ready to vote on it? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carried. Now we're up to reports to be filed, starting with Chief Shannon's report from the police department.
Nothing major other than what's in the report, wrapping up the fall sessions of the DARE program and Lisbon's graduation this week, and I think Mount Vernon's will be next week or coming up here soon anyway. So, other than that, if you got questions, I'm here.
Kind of a light month.
That's what I was thinking.
That's okay. Did not impact my commission.
Any questions of Chief? About Eldon with Public Works?
I'd just like to say thank you for the great preparation, all of staff involved, safety, public works, communication out of the administrative office, for everything in preparation for the actual ice storm that was predicted that happened. It doesn't always happen. It's nice to know we are prepared for those instances. Did you have much tree damage?
We had some small ones here and there, but nothing crazy.
Good.
Yeah. Thankfully.
And I know no power outages in Mount Vernon.
I'm aware
No,
of it.
this is actually this is an oddity for an ice storm, so it started out cold and then reversed. Normally it starts the other way where it's warm and then gets cold, so the ice melted and fell off tree limbs fairly quick before any large windstorms could come in. That's usually where the damage is at.
I'd like to thank you, Chris, for being proactive about, leading the team. And also, if I read it correctly, you were going to be out of town and you said that you were willing to come back to support them if you needed to be, so.
I didn't want to very bad, but I would.
I understand, but
No,
I just want to say that I think that's great that you're willing to support your staff that way.
Nobody gets to see that part of it, but we essentially have a department head meeting prior to the start of each of these events. So far this year, I think we've had 3. This might be the only one that really came to fruition. I think the most challenging probably was it's a weekend leadership at the LBC trying to make a decision on whether to open or not open and allow people to try and travel there. So that one's still kind of a work in progress, I think, as we move forward. But yeah, all the prep work that Public Works does, salting the streets, making sure that even though the ice was there, they were able to peel it up. If you don't do the prep work first, you're not peeling that ice up until you get some salt that burns through. PD and fire do an excellent job of communicating. They're usually kind of boots on the ground out there telling us when it's getting slippery enough to call out staff and administratively, everybody's going to come in and do their part, so it worked out well.
Thank you. So anything else in Public Works? Move on to Parks and Rec Board. Your board now full with Neil's appointment? Is your commission filled?
Yes, our board is now full with the appointment of Neil tonight, yes. Nothing to add.
Thanks for your chart about memberships by month for the last 5 years or whatever, so appreciate that. Questions of Matt? Full library report? One thing that Grace and I are working on with the library is still a small gap. I think it's like $1,000 worth of archiving of, getting on the cloud, archives of a certain segment of Sun newspapers, and then we will be current, but it's getting close to being completed, which has been a long process, so that's good. Grace is staying on, and we're getting close there, so I may have a new voice for lesson 2, I think it is. But that's it for reports. Discussion items. This is an item that I have on here about the water meter retransition. I don't know if you watched your water bill last time. You saw that the previous one, what was used, and was zeros last time, but there was still a bill for water and sewer. So I just wasn't sure how the transition was happening, and I hadn't seen anything public about it, so. Is there anything?
I think, just so everybody's aware, depends on the time that you got your water meter replaced. So those that got on the front end of the replacement likely got a zero read for this last water bill cycle. It's because the technology wasn't speaking to the tower yet. But so everybody gets a minimum read. Everybody gets a minimum bill. So regardless of the amount of water you could use a gallon, you're still going to get this minimum bill, and I think it's just over $40. So a lot of people got that minimum with a zero read. It's not Christmas. You're going to make up for it over the course of the next bills. We will be very diligent at working with residents, if their bills are higher. Part of this has to do with the transition from cubic feet to gallons, trying to make this easier for people to understand in an American standard. Part of it is the fact that we have a very basic software package that we're going to have to upgrade. I'm not sure if I sent all of that to you, but we just received notification from that group that we're going to have to make an upgrade anyway. So that will help kind of after the fact. We did have 5 meters. We're actually running backwards. Not exactly. 5 is all.
One of those.
Yeah. 5 is all that we know of, and then we have 90 or 91 meters that hadn't been replaced yet. That conversation will be forthcoming as well to the council as to what kind of action you want to take. A number of communities, they use like a $50 surcharge because now you have to physically go out and read those 90 meters, so that might be something that is proposed until they make the correction. Now, that surcharge wouldn't necessarily be a burden of the residents who require additional plumbing work, so we did run into some instances where FO was just not able to replace the meter because they had some things that they needed to fix inside their home. So there's items like that that will come. City staff will be doing the remainder of the change-outs from here on forward. If we happen to get a group of 30 or 40, FO will send a representative down here. I just don't think that that's going to happen.
Do you think that folks are going to have questions about how to read their bill now?
They shouldn't. Moving forward, there's still going to be that basic charge. You're going to be charged for that dollar amount. You're just going to see the gallons. Instead of cubic feet, it'll be gallons.
That's the only difference.
Yes.
Okay.
And there's 7 point some 5-digit number of gallons in a cubic foot, I believe. So it will look like you're using more because we were actually using more gallons, but
Well, you were using the same number.
You were using the same number. The read itself will look.
Yeah, it's
more
like measuring a mile in feet versus inches. It shouldn't seem like a much bigger number.
We did, and I will say that we did have at least 2 bills that I know of where that transition didn't translate quite right. So a couple people did receive a $2,000 bill. The bill was actually more like $400, but so if anybody looks like they have a really abnormal bill, I'm encouraging them to contact City Hall, and we can take a look at that.
Neither of those bills were the Bowers, were they? Thank you.
Good point, though. That's long memory.
We've done that before.
Okay.
So, and that 90 is single-digit percentage, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
a little over 5%.
Okay, excellent, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Hopefully that's enough information to the public, recognizing the change in the unit and the fact, do you think most of the bills have transitioned now?
So most of the bills for the next cycle will have transitioned.
Okay.
They, like I said, those that transitioned early, we didn't have a reader for at the times, and they weren't connected to the water tower, so they weren't talking to anybody at that point.
I'm glad my water meter doesn't talk to me, because
Anything else about the water meter read transition process? Mind us at ease. Reports, two things from the mayor's report. Big thing in my life is the fact that the Mumford Motel is about half down as of today. So it's being actively addressed by roads and construction. So regardless of when they do anything more to it, it's the progress there. And December, everybody's December is pretty well booked, but I would ask council members to put on their agendas in the calendar month of January to come up with some input on appraisal for Chris, which I will share with him. So I've got a couple of forms to try not bring today, but they're available on the League of Cities website. I've got a couple others from other communities, or just a paragraph form, some thoughts about good, bad, otherwise, for a city manager appraisal here, which I owe Chris, and I think that we made that an issue of council members that we would do that. So whatever you're most comfortable with, we'll move it on there.
Give me a deadline, Tom, what date do you want?
End of January. So,
Okay.
yeah, the month of January. We're not going to put any more pressure on you in December, so.
Okay.
The month of January.
Okay, thanks.
Any other council reports?
I just wanted to thank council, thank the entire administrative team and all the city workers for, getting me through my first year on council. Relatively easy, I thought, and just anytime I have a question, you guys are always more than available and give me proper thought out answers, and it's very much appreciated. So, thank you.
Good.
thank you for your service.
Any other committee reports? City administrators report.
Employee recognition this year will actually take place at the LBC now that we have multiple locations. We're going to try and rotate this year to year. City Hall will be closed for about 2 hours, 11:30 to 1:30 on Friday the 20th. City offices will be closed on the 24th and 25th for the Christmas holiday, and then again on January 1 for New Year's. We have 5 Mondays in December, so we get an extra week break going into the new year. Cindy Golding, Lori and I will be traveling to Center Point on Thursday. This is something that Joe with Center Point had initiated last year, and it worked really well. Happy that she's making herself available prior to the start of the legislation session. And then I shared with the mayor today that even though I had tried my hardest to not, I have a conference call this week about becoming the vice president of ICMA for Iowa. So may happen, may not, but I'm just trying to get off the board without making that happen. My counterpart over here was not very helpful. She didn't not nominate me, I'll say that. So, as I told the mayor, if I do, I'm already on the board, so it's not as if it will take significantly more time, but it will be a 3-year transition, vice president, presidency, immediate past president. I know I'm not president, but I had hoped
He's tried to avoid this like the plague.
I had hoped to nominate another individual that got on board with me at the same time. And the current vice president actually took a job in the private sector, so.
Here we are. That was my first comment about residents.
Yeah.
All right, any other reports we need to have? Is there anything else that needs to come before this council at this time? Otherwise, we are adjourned. Thank you very much. Very productive meeting. This was just a... Yeah.
Hey, okay.
I'll burn it.